So you can go ahead, ma'am.
All right, guys. Good evening. Once again, I apologize for the delay. I'm truly, truly sorry. So, my name is Emanuela, and I am your Excel facilitator. All right. So, I would really love to meet everyone. Please, if you can introduce yourself, tell me why you're here. Let's just keep it brief because we've wasted almost 30 minutes. So please, anyone can take the mic. Tell me your name, why you're here, what you hope to achieve. Just keep it brief in less than a minute, please. Thank you.
Hi, Emanuela. How are you doing?
Hello, Richard. Good evening.
Good
Are you
evening.
well?
My name is Richard. I'm doing good. My name is Richard. I'm joining DataClique to learn as a data analyst, having a background in statistics, and I know I needed to upskill, even though I work as a market researcher, but I needed to upskill as a data analyst for better work done. So I'll be glad to learn, and I'm hoping to get the very best. Thank you very much for your sacrifice and contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Richard. I love that. Very brief and straight to the point. And I love the fact that you do research. It's one skill that I admire a lot. Thank you so much. Please, another person. Any person, please.
Hi, Manuela. Good evening.
Hello, Isoke. Good evening.
Okay. So my name is Isoken Haribua. Yeah, so for me, I'm here to gain more knowledge into data analytics. It's something I've always wanted to do. And coming from my first degree, it's related to statistics. So it's something I really want to do, which is data. And also currently my work also involve the use of Power BI and the like. So I just want to gain more insight and knowledge and to be a professional, if that's the right word to put it. Thank you.
Of course, it's okay. Thank you so much. And trust me, in no due time, you're going to be a data professional to the point where I hope that you'll be able to teach others too who look forward to coming into the field as well. Thank you so much. You're going to learn a lot. Just keep an open mind. That's it. So please, one more person and we'll go straight into the class.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, Victor. Good evening.
My name is Adeshokan Victor. I'm so good to be here. I'm ready to learn and still learn more about what I've known about data analysis before. And I can't wait to learn from amazing trainers that we have on board during this course of this training. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, guys. We're going to go right into the class. Please give me 1 minute. Solomon, I can share my screen, right?
Yes, you can share your screen.
Okay. All right. Give me 1 minute, guys, please. Thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can, but you are sharing entire screen, but it
Yeah.
is no longer showing.
All right. All right. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So for today's class, we're going to start with a general knowledge of what data analytics is all about. All right. So this was prepared by my team, all thanks to Blessing Ibrahim. Thank you so much, Blessing. I don't know if Blessing is on this call. All right. So, what is data analytics? Data analytics is simply the process of examining, cleaning, transforming, and interpreting data to uncover valuable insights that, of course, support decision making. All right. So, what is this trying to say? Data analytics is simply all about you collecting data. That's the first step, collecting data. Then, secondly, it's all about you understanding what your data is all about. It's not just about, oh, you saw this data and then you jump into analyzing it. No, you have to understand what it's all about. You have to understand, okay, what is the goal behind this data? What is the aim behind this data? So that way it will help you when you want to transform. And of course, it will help you when you want to build your dashboards, when you want to communicate the insights and recommendations that you find. So that's what data analytics is simply all about. It's some people say it's all about putting the puzzle together. Yeah, because a lot of people that are not data analysts will see this data and be like, okay, what are we going to use this for? It's quite puzzling to them. So our job as data analysts is to make meaning out of that data. All right. So we move on to the next slide. Why does data analytics matter? It helps us to make better decisions without making guesses. And I feel that's like one of the main reasons why most people become data analysts. Someone like me, I don't like making decisions that I am not sure of. No, no, no. I don't like making decisions out of something, out of information that I'm not sure of. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons behind carrying out data analytics. Yeah, you want to make sure that every decision that is made, it is backed by facts, backed by figures, not just, oh, based off mere observation or something like that. Yeah. Another reason why data analytics matters is we use it in identifying trends, patterns, and opportunities, right? So let me take, for example, in a normal business setting, yeah, everyone is going about their operations and all that. You come in every day, you do your job, and then you go, right? But in actual sense, you might not really know what is going on in the background, right? Because all you know is come in, log in, get the job done, and go. But we data analysts, every information matters to us. Yeah, because it can help us in knowing, okay, based on what has happened so far within our organization, we can be able to determine what can happen in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time. We can use historical data. When I talk about historical data, what am I saying? Historical data is data from previous periods, previous years of your company. So that is what we use, analyze, make sense out of it. And of course, critical thinking is very important in this case. Make sense out of it and say, okay, in the next 5 years, this is what can happen. All right. You can also make recommendations and be like, okay, we need to do this for us to be in this position in the next 5 years. So it helps us to identify trends, patterns, and opportunities. Thirdly, it helps us to optimize business performance. Yeah, just like I say, a lot of people that come to work, they're just there to get the job done. All right. But without data, you might not know your business might be losing. You might be losing a lot of money, right? You might be disbursing money and be like, oh, okay, we're spending for the right reasons. But then when you put everything as a data and you analyze it, you might find out that, oh, okay, we're actually losing money in this area, or we are losing money in that area. So it helps us to optimize business performance, helps us to know where we're weak, help us to know where we're strong, our strength, weaknesses, helps organizations to identify that. All right, so we move on to the next slide. Please, is everyone still with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So we move on to the next slide where we talk about types of data analytics. The first one, and what I call the most common one, is descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics tells you what happened. As the name implies, descriptive. It is describing what happened. All right. Sort of more or less like, okay, let's take, for example, your monthly sales report. All right, you can describe and be like, okay, this is what has happened over the years within each month. All right, there's also a function to perform descriptive analytics. All right, we'll get to that. All right, then diagnostic analytics was simply, in this case, was simply trying to identify, okay, why did it happen? In the case of diagnostic analytics, was simply asking the question, why? All right. We're not really looking into, okay, describing how things happen. No, we just want to know why it happened. Okay, let me give, for example, now. At the end of the year 2025, your company made, let's say, a loss of 15 million in a region. All right. With the help of diagnostic analytics, we can see, okay, this is where the problem was coming from. Maybe it's coming from a retail station or anything at all. All right. So the whole point of diagnostic analysis is to dig in and find out why something happened. All right. Then we move on to the next one, predictive analysis. All right. Predictive, when you're predicting, what are you doing? You're doing a forecast into the future. Yes, you're using what you have now to determine what can happen tomorrow. All right. So that's the whole point of predictive analytics. It's simply asking the question, what will happen? With the information we have now, can we say this and that will happen the next year? Can we say this and this or that will happen in the coming years? All right. Then, in the case of prescriptive analytics, we're simply asking the question, what should we do? All right. With the information we have now, what do you think we can do next? What are the strategies we can put in place? What should we do? All right. So, in the case of when I mentioned of diagnostic analytics, finding out why your company made a loss. So, with prescriptive analytics here, we can say, okay, we made a loss because of this, but then this can be done. All right. We can say, okay, let's introduce, maybe the problem is coming from your retail manager or it's coming from poor inventory optimization. Maybe there's nobody in place to make sure that the inventory is tracked properly. So maybe we're just losing our inventory without even knowing it. So that is what prescriptive analytics does. It asks the question, what should we do? You found the why. Now, what is our next step? All right. So, on to the next slide. Common tools in data analytics. The most important tool in data is Excel. I'll say it over and over and over again. Excel is the number one tool for data analytics. All right. A lot of organizations use it, a lot of industries use it, even up till this moment that I'm speaking with you. All right. And Excel is evolving over. It's evolving. All right. So Excel is the number one tool for data analytics. We use it for basic analysis, of course. Yeah. You can also use it to build dashboards, although most people don't, but you can actually build amazing dashboards with Excel. You can also carry out amazing analysis with Excel too. With the introduction of Microsoft 365, there's a whole lot of new features that was included. All right. Then we move on to the next, SQL. SQL for me is basically for carrying out queries. Yeah, is for query optimization and the rest of that. You use SQL to carry out queries and manage databases. All right. You can also use your SQL for large data sets. When we mean large data sets, we're talking about 1 million rows. Yeah. So that is what SQL can do for you. SQL is for carrying out queries, managing relational databases, and storing very large data sets. All right. Then we move on to Power BI and Tableau. The main um, the main use of Power BI or Tableau is basically data visualization. But with Power BI, you can also carry out analysis. Yes, you can also carry out a few analysis in Power BI, but the main use of these two tools is for data visualization. All right. Then we'll move on to Python and R. Python and R are programming tools. Yeah. We use them for writing scripts, data scripts. Use them to automate your activities. Yes, use them to automate your operations. That's what they're used for. Yeah. And you can also use them for advanced analytics. All right. There are a whole lot of things you can do with Python and R. A whole lot, a whole lot. Then we speak of Google Analytics. Google Analytics is for web traffic and digital marketing insights. Yeah. Then we move on to the next slide. Steps to start a career in data. Number one, learn the basics. Super, super important. Learn the basics. So if you know you're very, very new to data analytics, I advise you learn the basics. Don't rush it. Learn the basics. Understand the key concepts in every tool that a data analyst use. Understand the key concept, understand the basics. All right. Then master tools. When we talk about mastering tools, we're simply talking about mastering tools that data analysts use, such as your Excel, SQL, and of course your visualization tools, Power BI and Tableau. All right. So you have to master your tools, be familiar with it. So when I talk about mastering tools, yeah, I'll say it's dependent on your industry. All right. The way you use SQL in industry A might not be the same way you use SQL in industry B. All right. But for a beginner, it's advised that you learn all round because you never know the industry you find yourself in. All right. And when you're learning all round, what am I saying? Learn the basics. All right. If you learn the basics, trust me, when you want to move on to intermediate and advanced, it's a lot easier for every tool, be it Excel or SQL. Then on to the next, build projects. Super, super important. Build projects, have your portfolio where you store your projects. It's very important to build projects. And I would advise that you build projects that are very meaningful, projects that will actually push you to think, projects that will push you to do real research. All right. I'm not saying you cannot do the basic projects. All right. You can do that, but also push yourself to do projects that will push you to think deeper, to research deeper, to know more. All right. And then on to the next, showcase your skills, of course. Showcase your skills. LinkedIn, Twitter, even on Instagram, showcase your skills. Let people know that, oh, this is what I do. All right. That is one of the best ways to also build connections. All right. Showcase your skills. Tell them what you know. You can go on LinkedIn. Oh, I just worked on this new data set and this is what I found. All right. Just share it. It might look like people are not noticing, but trust me, there's someone there that is observing what you're doing. All right. And then network and learn. What are the best ways to network and learn? Go for events. All right. Join communities. All right. Even when this bootcamp ends, you guys should not end the networks you build here, the connections you build here. All right. Grow your network here. Go for events. Meet people that have even gone way higher than you have. All right, just to learn, connect. All right, so those are the ways you can start a data career. All right, so we'll be moving on to the next thing. 1 minute, please. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to be moving on to the next thing. I want to share what we have for today. 1 minute, please. All right, can everyone hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
We
Okay.
can.
So for today's class, yeah, we're going to be going through like a basic introduction to Excel. All right. If you guys are on Google Classroom, you must have seen the note I shared earlier this morning. All right. So what is Microsoft Excel? Microsoft Excel is simply a spreadsheet application used for organizing, analyzing, and visualizing data. Just like I mentioned earlier, Excel is a data analytics tool that you use for your basic analysis. All right. You can use it for visualizing, that is building dashboards. You can use it for carrying out analysis. You can use it for storing your data as well. You can use it for organizing your data as well. So, what are the use cases of data? Data entry and management. When we talk about data entry and management, we're simply talking about tables, lists, and databases. Databases are the files you store on Excel for future use. Lists and tables, we're going to talk more on that when we get into the class. All right. Then you can also use Excel for financial modeling and accounting. All right. These are for those in the finance industry. You're an accountant, you're a CFO, you're an account analyst, you're a finance analyst, investments. Yeah, you can also use Excel for your financial modeling and accounting. You can also use Excel to build your yearly reports or your quarterly reports. All right. And then you can use Excel for data analysis and reporting. All right. When we talk about data analysis and reporting, we're talking about pivot tables and charts. All right. We can also use Excel for project management and scheduling, mathematical and statistical calculations, your ANOVA, your descriptive analysis, and the rest of that. All right. So On to the next part. Interface elements. All right. I just want to go through the notes so that when I get into Excel, I won't have to come back here. All right. So interface elements, when we talk about interface elements, it's simply talking about the things you see when you open your Excel. All right. Just the way I am on Microsoft Word now. All right. So when you open a blank Excel sheet, all right, the things you will see is number one, your ribbon. Your ribbon is this area right here. This is your ribbon. This is a ribbon of your sheet. When we open Excel sheet, I'm going to show you what it looks like. All right. There you see your home tab, your insert, your formulas, your data, your review, your view. When we get into Excel, I'm going to talk more about this. All right. Then your formula bar. Your formula bar is more or less like your active cell. All right. Active cell is the cell that you are currently on. All right. So when you're currently on, like when you're on a cell, all right, your formula bar shows you what is inside that cell. All right. So most times, instead of you having to double click to see what is inside, from your formula bar, you can see what is in that cell. All right. And from your formula bar, you can also correct anything that you want to correct. All right. So if you're having to double click into that cell. All right. So on to the next, we have our worksheet area. Our worksheet area is the main section of your spreadsheet where you can organize and run your analysis. Of course, it is where you see your rows and your columns. All right. A cell is where your row and your column intersect. All right. So when we open Excel, I'm going to talk more about that. All right. Then your status bar. Your status bar is most times below your sheet. Let's take, for example, now this one. Sorry. This area is your status bar. All right. So when we open Excel, I'm going to talk more about what the status bar entails. With your status bar, you can see your average, your sum, your count, your zoom. This right here is what we call the zoom. So with this, you can zoom in or zoom out. All right. And then sheet tabs. Sheet tabs are on the bottom left corner of your sheet. All right. That area you can navigate through your sheets, you can create new sheets. All right. It just shows you where all your sheets are. All right. All right. So please, can everyone hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. All right. All right, so can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see
Okay.
your screen.
Okay, so now I'm into Excel. Yes. So we're going to go through everything that I just said right now. All right. So this is basically for beginners. Like if you're totally new to Excel, then this is for you. All right. So this is what Excel looks like when you open it. All right. For those that don't know how to open your Excel, you can simply go to your search bar right here and just search for Excel. All right. And then you can click on open. All right. Then once you open it, it takes you right here. All right. So this is what Excel looks like when you open it for the first time. So I'm going to be going through what I just explained right now. All right. The first thing I explained was the ribbon. All right. So this area right here, this entire area right here is your ribbon. All right. So in various sections of the ribbon, all right, they have their own function. They have what they carry. All right. So let me start with the most common one, the home tab. All right. On your home tab, that's where you find your paste. My paste is grayed out because I've not copied anything yet. And then right here, you can find your copy. All right. This scissors icon means to cut. To cut means you're removing the content from a cell and moving it to another cell. All right. It's quite different when you copy. All right. And then this is your paste special. All right. The main purpose of this home tab, all right, is basically for formatting, if you ask me. Yeah, the main point of your home tab is to format. Here you can find your alignment. All right, so let's take, for example, I type something like data analytics. All right. So now when it comes to alignment, you can either decide to align to the center. Let me auto fit this. Sorry. Align to the center. When you align to the center, it keeps your data right in the middle. All right. And then when you align up, it takes your data up. That is, the content of your cell goes up. All right. Then when you align to the left, it takes you to the left. Let me expand this a bit. All right. So when you align your data to the right, sorry, it takes your data to the right side of that cell. All right. When you align to the left, it takes it to the left. When you align to the center, it drops it right in the middle. All right. And then over here, you can increase your indentation. Indentation simply, indentation is simply talking about how you place your content. All right. So if you want to increase indentation, all right, you're simply adjusting it to the way you want it to be in the cell. All right. If you don't want it to be a center alignment, maybe you want it to be a bit close to the left. All right. But you don't want it to be to rest on the left side of the cell. You can simply increase your indentation. All right. So that's the whole point of this area right here. And then over here, format cell alignment. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. So when we come over here, when we speak of merge and center, all right, when we say merge and center, we're simply talking about combining two cells into one. All right. Let's say, for example, whatever it is you have on this cell is way bigger and cannot contain in that one cell, and you don't want to enlarge your row or something, you can simply merge it with another by simply coming here, click on merge and center. And so that way, what has this done? It has combined column A and B together. So now the content of column A has simply extended to B to look like it's in one cell. All right. So not to waste so much of our time, there are so many things you can do with your home tab. All right. You can also format your data here. Here you can decide whether you want it to be general, number, currency, accounting, short date. When we speak of short date, we're going to talk more about that. Long date too, we're going to talk more about that. So in this area, you can simply format your data to make it look the way you want it to be. And I would love to note that when you format your data, yeah, it doesn't change what it actually is, especially in the case of when you are formatting your values. All right. When you format your data, you're simply changing how it looks on the screen, but you're not changing its actual value. So it's very important to note that. All right. So let's move on to the next section of our ribbon, which is our insert data. So when we come to the insert data, that's where we see our charts, our pivot tables, our tables. As the name implies, insert, you're simply telling Excel, oh, I want you to put this on my data. All right. I want you to either put a pivot table, I want you to put a checkbox, your charts. This is when you're building your dashboard. You can find your line column, your win or loss, your slicer or timeline. You can also insert a link into your data set. You can also include a comment in your data set, text, symbols, or equations. You can layout. Our page layout is simply talking about how do we want our page to look like. All right. This is most times important when you're going to print out your sheets. All right. So with the page layout, you're simply telling Excel, okay, this is how I want my data to look like. All right. When we speak of orientation, portraits means like an A4 paper. All right. The landscape means it's a lot wider than portraits. All right. It's mostly useful when you want to print out, let's say, for example, a dashboard. All right. So it's very important in those cases. All right. Then we'll move on to size. Size means the size of your paper. All right. This is dependent on the printing paper that you're using. All right. If it's A4, you check it to A4. If it's A3, executive, Lego, whatever it is. This is dependent on the paper that you want to use to print your report. All right. There's a whole lot you can do with this. So when we come to this area, grid lines, all right, grid lines has two sections, the view section and the print section. The view section is what you can currently see right now. All right, so you can toggle your view on or off. Right now it is on. All right, and when we speak of grid lines, this is what we're talking about. This gray lines right here, those are your grid lines. All right. So if, for example, you turn your grid line view off, you see there are no grid lines there. There are no lines there. All right. This is most times useful when you're building your dashboards. All right. On your dashboard sheet, you can decide whether or not you want your grid lines to be there. But most times it's advisable for your grid lines not to be there. So when it comes to print, you're simply telling Excel that when I send this to the printer. When I send this to the printer, I need you to either give me the grid lines with it, or it shouldn't come with the grid lines. But most times your report cannot come with a grid line. So that's why we see it is turned off here. And then when we move on to headings, all right, the headings is this area right here. All right. So it also applies to your view, that is what the person can see when they open your sheet. All right. So let's toggle this off. You can see our columns and our rows went off. All right. So your headers are simply these areas right here. These areas right here. And then this are also your headers. So you can decide to either turn it off or turn it on. All right. So when we go more into our class, we'll discuss about bringing forward or sending backward. All right. So let's move on to formulas. All right. So for the formulas tab, I mostly use it for my functions. All right. If you don't want to type in your functions into your cell, you can simply look for it here, and they are grouped. All right. They're grouped into text. Under text, you find every function that relates to text. Text is your strings, all right? Any function that relates to it. All right? We'll move on to date and time. All right, we're talking about our date, of course, our time. Any type of function you want to carry out that relates to date or time, this is where you can find it. All right? Same thing goes for lookup and reference. This is where you find your VLOOKUP, your HLOOKUP, your index match, and the rest of that. All right. So your math and trig, this is where you find your sum, your sum if, your sum ifs, and the rest of that is simply relating to math calculations. All right. Your math functions. This is where you can find them. All right. And then this small functions is when you cannot find what you're looking for here. Simply come in here. Your statistical, your engineering, these are more advanced functions. All right. And then we're going to also look into defined names. We'll talk about that. Precedent and dependent, error checking, and the rest of that. So let's move on to the next section of the ribbon, which is our data. Our data is simply looking at ways you can import data into Excel. All right. This section right here is talking about how you can import your data into Excel. This is queries and connections. And then this area right here, our data tools, this is where you can find your text to column, your data validation. Then right here, you find your what if analysis, your scenario, your goal seek, and your data table. You can also find your outline right here. Then if you want to perform more data analysis, all right, you can go right here and do that. This is where you find your descriptive analytics, your ANOVA, and the rest of that. All right. So now when we come to review, all right, our review is simply talking about what do you want the person to see? What do you want the person to do? All right. So in this tab right here, you can add a comment. You can delete a comment. If you want to keep checking through comment, that's if you made more than one comment on a sheet. This is what you can use this for. All right. And this is where you also protect your sheet. Protect your sheet means deciding who edits or who does not edit. All right. You can decide to lock your sheet. To lock your sheet means no one can access a particular area or some certain areas of your sheet. All right. So the view tab, all right, is simply talking about what you can see. All right. How you want people to see your sheet. All right. Here you can also find your grid lines. You can also toggle your grid line on or off. All right. View is only for what they can see. You can't use it for print or whatever. All right. Then here, navigation. When we click on navigation, it shows us the sheets that we have. So let's take, for example, now we have sheet 1 right here, which is this right here. So if we had more sheets on this worksheet, all right, it will also be here. So instead of having to come here to click, you can just go to navigation and go to the sheets that you want to be on. All right. And then when we talk about zoom, all right, you can either zoom in from here, choose the scale you want. Let's take, for example, let's zoom to 50. Let's see what that does. You see, it reduces down to 50. All right. So if you want to zoom to 100, all right, you can do that. Then if you want to zoom to selection, selection means the area that you're on. This is what you can do with that. So let's zoom back to 100. All right. So let's come to this area here. My favorite part of this area is the freeze paint. All right. So when it comes to when we're talking about freeze paint, what are we talking about? We're talking about the areas that you want not to move. All right. Let's take, for example, we have data sets right in this row. All right. And we also have data sets on this column. We have data entered here. We have data entered here as well. All right. So if you want to keep scrolling, yeah, but you don't want this and this to move, all you simply have to do is freeze your panes. Freeze your panes in the sense that this and this will stay the same. All right. So when you're freezing your panes, you have to come to that intersection where this is covered and this is covered. All right, that point where these two meet, and this is simply the cell. So when we go to freeze panes and we click on freeze panes, you see this line here came up. So when we scroll through our data, you see everything stays. All right. This is useful when you still need to see the headers of your data set. All right. So when you come here, you can simply unfreeze paint. That way you can just scroll through your data. All right. So that is the basics of the ribbon of Excel. All right. So on to the next, we have our formula bar. Please, is everyone with me?
Yes,
Can
we are.
anyone hear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So on to the next thing, we have our formula bar. Our formula bar is this area right here. So like I mentioned earlier, instead of having to double click into your cell, all right, you can simply come in here and write what you want. Let's take, for example, click 2. All right. So I'm currently on this cell. All right. Let's say I want to change click 2 to click 3 instead of having to double click. All right. I can simply go here, click, and change this to click 3. So that's the use of this formula bar right here. All right. It shows you what is inside your cell. So instead of having to double click, you can just come in here and change whatever it is that you want to change. All right. It's a lot neater if you ask me. All right. So when we come to our worksheet area, this right here is our worksheet area. Where you see A, B, C, D, this area right here is our column. All right. The vertical part is our column. All this right here, A, B, C, D. Then rows are stored in 1, 2, 3s all the way. All right. So when we talk of a cell, like I mentioned earlier, is the intersection of a row and a column. So when we come here, what are the two things that intersect? It's our column A and our row 2. All right, so a cell is where a row and a column intersect, or what we say, where a row and a column meet. All right, so that is it about a cell. And then next thing is our status bar. Our status bar is this area right here, the bottom part of your sheet, this area right here. Here you can find your zoom. All right, so if you don't want to use the zoom in the view tab, you can simply come right here and zoom. All right, this area right here. And then this area right here is to show how you want your sheet to look like. You want it to look normal. This is what we call a normal view. All right. Then if you wanted to page break, you can simply do this. Then let's take it back to normal. This is it right here. All right. So this area shows you a summary of what is going on your sheet. If you start carrying out operations like your sum, average, or count, and the rest of that, all right, you can easily find it right here. Most times when you highlight data, all right, you most times see the summary here. So let's take, for example, I have 12, 34, 56. All right. So when I highlight this 3, all right, you can see down here, I have my average. I have my count. My count is what, 3, because it's 3 values I have here. My number count, I also had to activate this on Excel. All right. So my number count simply means it only counts the numbers. All right. That's what this numerical count is for. Then our mean, max, and sum. So you can find all that here on our status bar. All right. So when we talk about sheet tabs are talking about the various sheets within your workbook. All right. So this right here is a sheet. This thing we are on right now is a sheet. All right. Assuming you want to create more sheets, you simply come here, click this plus, add. A new sheet was created. You can simply come here to add. A new sheet is created. All right. So let's assume we have multiple sheets. Yeah. All right. So this thing right here helps you to navigate between your sheets. All right. So that is what this is for. These two things here, these arrows, they help you to navigate through your sheet. All right. So that's what this does. All right. So now on to the next part of the notes. We're going to be talking about workbook and worksheet. All right. So when we talk about a workbook is talking about your entire Excel file. All right. So this right here is a workbook. All right. Where all the sheets are contained is your workbook. All right. Then a worksheet is simply talking about a single spreadsheet that is within a workbook. So all the spreadsheets individually are called your worksheets. All right. So a worksheet is inside a workbook. Then a workbook is the entire Excel file itself. All right. So your workbook is what you save to your folders. All right. Then when you open your workbook, then you can see your sheets within it. Okay. All right. So now moving on to the next part of the notes, which is our basic worksheet navigation. All right. So when we talk about worksheet navigation, we're simply talking about the various ways you can walk through your worksheets. All right. Without having to stress too much. So this is where I'll be talking about our Alt command. All right. So on your keyboard, close to your space bar, you can find your Alt key. Your Alt key is simply ALT. All right, that's what you see there. So when you click on your Alt key, all right, I just clicked on mine now, and as we can see, a lot of letters came up. All right. So instead of having, the whole point of the Alt key is instead of having to click the way I'm clicking now, you can just simply use your Alt key to get the job done. All right. So let's take, for example, now I want to fill this area with a color. All right. I don't want it to be white. I want it to be a certain color, let's say green or something else. I can simply use my Alt key. So when it comes to fill, our fill is on the Home tab. We click on H. So now this right here is where you can fill your cell. I click on H again. And then now, so with my arrow, I can simply select the color that I want. The color that I want, I can simply select it with my arrow. All right. So then I hit enter. When I hit enter, it simply selects that color that I'm on. All right. So now let's try something else. Let's say I want to what can we do now? Okay, let's say I want to save this tab. All right, your save tab is on your file right here. This is where you can find it. You can save as, you can print, you can export. This is where you can find it. All right. So let's say I want to save this worksheet. Instead of having to use my arrow to look for it, all right, if I don't want to scroll, I can simply do Alt F. So if you want to save a worksheet, you save as. All right, so I click A. So now it is asking me, I want to save it to my OneDrive or I want to save it to my system. So anywhere that I want to save it, all right, I can simply click on the letter that is there. All right, if I want to save it to my OneDrive, I click on K. If I want to save it to my system, I simply click on C. All right. So the whole point of your Alt command is to help you get familiar with your keyboard. All right. So instead of having to scroll all the time to look for what you need, you can simply use your keyboard to get the job done. All right. So there are so many things you can do with the Alt key. You can use it to enter any tab within the region, within the ribbon, sorry. You can use it to enter any tab at all, be it your data, be it your review, any tab at all. That is the whole point of the Alt tab. All right. So moving on to the next part of our notes, which is entering and formatting data. All right. Can everyone see my screen, please?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when we talk about entering and formatting data, we're simply talking about the various ways you can input data into your sheet and also how you can format it to look the way that you want it to look. All right. So let's start with the first one, entering data. Entering data is simply talking about how you can input your data into your sheet. The basic one is you simply type it in. All right. That is the basic one that most people do. You can simply type it in and then use, if you click on enter, all right, your focus cell goes down. All right. If you use tab, it goes to the right. Then if you use your arrow, you can either go to the right or go to the left, go up or go down. All right. Your arrow key is beside your control. It's very close to your shift key. All right. On the bottom right side of your keyboard, that's where you find your arrow key. All right. And then when we speak of formatting, all right, formatting is simply changing the way your data is viewed. All right, the way people see it when they open it. It doesn't change what it actually is. All right, it just changes the way it looks like when people open it or the way you want it to look so that it can be easier for you to work on. All right. So there's a shortcut for formatting. All right, you either use your home tab on the ribbon or you use your control one. That is a shortcut. All right. So formatting options include your font style, your size, the size of the content of your cell, the color, the feel, and everything. Then you can decide to bold. You bold with Control B. All right. But in Excel, you can also bold with Control 2. All right. You can also italic. Italic is to make it look slant. All right. Italics is Control I or Control 3. All right. Underline is mostly used for your headers. All right. If you want to underline your headers, you can use Control U for that. All right. And then we'll move on to the next, our number format. All right. There are various ways to format your numbers. If you want to put in a
Sorry,
comma.
Emmanuel, I can't see your screen.
Oh, So
I
sorry.
can only see your Excel page. I don't know if that's what you are speaking to or if that's what you're sharing.
So sorry. Let me switch that. All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right. So sorry for that. All right. So as we were saying, there are various ways you can format your numbers. All right. Like I showed you guys on the Excel sheets. You can keep it as general. You keep your data as general in the cases of, let's say, an ID. All right, let's say we have an employer ID column. You can keep that column as a general. All right. Then number, of course, in the case of number, you can decide to put your thousand operator, that is to separate it into threes. All right. And then you can format your data to percentage. All right. That way you can see your percent symbol right behind your number. All right. Then you can also format to scientific, of course. Then your dates as well. This is dependent on how you want it to look like. All right. The common one we know is this format right here. This is the most common way to format your dates. I'm still going to show us how this is done. All right. But if you don't want your date to look like this, you can make it to look in this format or any other format. All right. There are various options to choose from. All right. And then currency. Currency is dependent on where you are and the company you work for. All right. If you're a remote worker, your currency have to be in the currency of the company you're working for. All right. So there are various currency options. The dollar, even the naira is there as well. So I gave an example. Let's say in your cell you have 1,000. You can decide to format it to a currency of a dollar. All right. So instead of you making it look just like this, all right, you can decide to format it to look like this. All right. And then we talk about our custom formats. Our custom formats is simply you building your own style. It's simply you building how you want your data to look like. All right. So you can format your phone numbers this way. You can display. So let's take, for example, you don't want to be seeing zero, you want to be seeing a dash. All right. So you can do that with your custom format, same as adding kilogram. All right, let's say you don't want to be entering into every cell and be putting kilograms in it. You can simply use your custom format to get that done. Same with your dates. All right. So let me switch back to Excel and show us. All right. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes,
Okay.
I can.
So I shared this with everyone on the Google Classroom. All right. So let's go through our data formatting all over again. All right. So I said there are various ways to format your data. All right. So now let's take, for example, we have our region right here and we have our product right here. These are stored as text. These are text right here. All right. So you can decide to leave this as general. All right. You can decide to leave this as general. All right. Why? Because nothing affects this when you're running further analysis. All right. It stays as it is. So you can decide to leave this as general or you can decide to change it to a text. All right, however it is you want it, can either come in here and change it to a text. All right, it doesn't really affect what it looks like. All right. So now when it comes to this column right here, our sales amounts per unit. All right. There are various ways you can format this. You can format to a number, you can format to a currency. All right, anyhow you want it to be. So let's just run through this quickly. All right. So now when we come to our home tab right here, we go to this section called number. All right. Here we can see our account. All right. So you can decide to put it like this, but this, of course, doesn't look good. All right. So the best way to do this is to convert to a currency. And how can we do that? Simply do Control 1. Our Control 1 opens our Format Cell dialog box. All right. So go to number right here. Right now it's on accounting because that's what we formatted it to. But then you can go to currency. All right. So this is showing us a sample of what our data will look like when we format it to a currency. Do you want to format your data to 2 decimal places? You can decide if you want it or not. All right. So you can see as I'm increasing it, it is showing me what it will look like. All right. So however it is you want it to be. And then when we come to symbol, if you click this area right
Hi,
here,
Miss Manuela. Sorry to obstruct you, please.
yes, please.
I am having a challenge. I know I've dropped it on the comment section. Probably you didn't see it. So whenever you click on these drop down buttons
Okay.
around the ribbon, like that general accounting, I don't see what
Okay.
you do there. It does not show from my hand. I don't know if I'm the only one.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, let
Hello?
me do that again. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, okay, all right. So let me do that again. All right, all right. So when you want to format your numbers, there are various ways to do this, but it's dependent on what you're looking for. All right. So if you want to format to accounting, it changes to an accounting format. All right. So when you go to your home tab right here, you come to your number. All right. And then you click here, this drop down right here, click on it. And then when you click on accounting, all
So,
right.
sorry, I can see that I understand what you're doing, right? But when you click on that drop down, those items listed there, they are not showing for our screen. We can't see it. We only see that you click on drop down and you can see what you are doing, the accounting, general, custom, and the like, but we can't see it. That's what I'm saying.
Are you saying can you see what can you see my drop down now?
I can't see it.
I
Okay.
think I think that's true. I can't see
Yes.
it as well, so I don't know. Maybe we should just go on with it. So there's no problem because of our
Okay.
time. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So
All
sorry,
right,
I'm
no
going to
problem. We can just check back on our own Excel.
okay, all right. So when we click on the drop down, all right, we can see our accounting. So when we click on accounting, it brings out this. All right, in this case, it brought out the Naira symbol. All right, but this is not looking good. All right, because our Naira right here is far away from our figure. So if you want it to look formal, look very okay, all right, all you simply have to do is Control 1. it opens up the dialog box. All right. And then simply go to currency. All right. So on your currency, the first thing you see is a sample. The sample is Excel is simply telling you, okay, when you do this format, this is what your data is going to look like. All right. And then we also have decimal places. You can decide whether you want to format your data to 0 decimal place in the sense that your data won't have a decimal in it. All right, to just be a whole number, no decimal point, nothing. All right, then if you want 1 decimal, you can simply reduce it to 1 decimal. All right, and then under the symbol, yeah, you can find the various currency symbols we have, the various ones that we have. All right, so it's dependent on what you're looking for. All right, the euro is here, the dollar is here, any symbol you're looking for at all. So in my case, I'm looking for the naira. All right, so under the naira, we have various naira, Edo, Hausa, Ibibio, whatever it is. All right, so anyone I click on is still going to work. All right. And then negative numbers. Negative numbers in the sense that if your data has a minus in it, how do you want Excel to treat it? Do you want it to just show the minus in front of it or show it in red font format? However it is you want it, click on it, and then when we click on OK, as we can see, it has formatted our data the way it should actually look. It is way more better than the currency. All right. Please, is anyone with me?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So at this point, we'll have to, I know it's not yet 8 o'clock. Yes, but we have to pause at this point. All right. We're going to end the class at this point. Okay. I'm so sorry that we have to end the class right now. All right. So please, any questions?
Okay, so for what so sorry, thank you so much once again, Miss Emanuela. We really do appreciate you for joining us today. So for what Isoken said earlier, I don't know if I'm right with the pronunciation of your name. I think you opened, how many Excel files did you open, please? Miss Emanuela?
I opened just one,
One,
plus the
okay.
blank one that's making it 2.
Probably that's why, probably, I guess. So thank you so much. So if you have any question, you can drop it on the chat box, or you should unmute yourself and ask your question. So thanks so much. And if there is no question, then we have to end it today. And Miss Emanuela will be joining us tomorrow as well, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow. So thank you so much once again, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate you once again. So on behalf of myDataclique, we really do appreciate Miss Emanuela. And tomorrow, again, we'll start the second section of Microsoft Excel. Thank you so much once again, everyone. Do have a lovely night rest.